Hi guys, and welcome back to another match preview as Forest will travel up to the Toon to take on the mighty Newcastle. And we couldn't have done this with anyone but the great Pete himself from Loaded Mag. Make sure you subscribe to them. The link's in the title. I know most of you already are. And we're on there every Tuesdays doing tabletop talk football. Is that the right way around? That's a tongue
Top table
twister.
talk. Top table
Something
talk.
like that. Something like that.
We got there.
Loads of teas in there. Make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We got a lot to discuss here because, Pete, we've had this alliance going on, right? Forest, Newcastle, Villa were like our little, third wheel going on. They've dropped off. And now we've got to take points of each other or share some points, mate. And I don't know how I feel about it. Mate. We got Man City hunting us down. Chelsea look like they're falling off. Bournemouth, who we've both fallen ill to in recent times, are up in fifth now. You boys are sitting, seventh, but only 6 points behind us. What's happened in the last few games, mate? 3 losses in 4. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been a strange few weeks, I've got to say. In terms of the league form, from what we were doing December into January, it was just crazy. 9 wins in a row in all competitions. We were flying. Yeah, people were saying, we're dead set maybe for top 4, let alone top 5. And the form's just dropped off. The Bournemouth game's thrown us completely. And then the Fulham game has started to ask some questions. But as bad as the league form has been, like when you see that performance against Arsenal in the second leg of the Carabao Cup, you're like, well, that's what we're capable of. That's what we know. That's what we know we're about. So it has been a bit of a strange few weeks. But in terms of the league form, it's not where we need to be. Like you said, 3 losses at 4. It's been a poor run of form, but we knew it was going to be a difficult month this February.
Yeah.
And we knew we had some tough games, and we've still got tough games to come, obviously, yourself, and then Liverpool straight after that at Anfield. It's not getting any easier. And we've just got to we've got to kick back into gear. We've got to navigate ourselves because it could very quickly spiral out of control. And we are in that top 5 race. You've just touched on it. We are definitely 2 points behind Chelsea, 6 points behind yourself. But we are in that race. But the way the season's going at the moment, a couple of results either way, and it can change very, very quickly. So we need to make sure that the next few results go in our favour. Otherwise, we're going to be out of race, and we're going to be out of form going into the Carabao Cup final, which is not where we want to be. When we've got such a big occasion and a chance to win a trophy, we need to make sure we're at tip-top level going into that, because Liverpool are no joke.
It's interesting because, like, when you look at the teams you've recently played and lost to, it's like spit an image of Forest. Do you know what I mean? You lost 4-1 to Bournemouth. We lost 5-0 to them. Fulham as well. That's the team we fell to. Same scoreline. You lost to Man City. We've got them in a week's time. You know what I mean? I'm like, if we're mirroring, I'm a little worried, man. It's like, it's interesting how we're all in that bracket of those teams fighting for those positions. Everyone seems to be playing roughly the same fixtures at the same time. I don't know how it's worked out like that. And it is worrying. It's like, if you beat us, you cut the gap from 6 down to 3. If you lose to us, it goes up to 9. Forest suddenly look quite comfortable, and you're probably gonna, struggle to get into that top 5 if that happens. But then again, it's all the teams around us. We don't know, because no one's really just gone away on a streak apart from bloody Liverpool at the moment. And when you were streaking, we were streaking as well. We'd gone 7 in a row as well. You were like, well, if Forest can do it, we got to do it. And, the alliance was strong. And now it's a little ropey, man. So I'm going into this game worried. I guess I know we've discussed it, but I know the viewers will want to know because and I'm sure you're sick of talking about it, the parallels to 2 years ago. You got to the final, and then your form just capitulated up until then. Obviously, you then lost it to that scummy team United, and then your form picked back up. And the patterns are starting to show like they're similar, mate. Is that a discussion that's been happening across on your channel and in the fan base?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And it's happened earlier than it did
Mm,
2 years ago because it's different. We've got a longer wait for the final this time. The final turnaround 2 years ago was actually quite quick. I think it was
mm,
only 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah.
So the drop in form was only over like a couple of games, and then the final kicked in. Whereas this time, it's it's very different because we're in a position where we've got 5 weeks in between, so we've got a number of games that we're
Mm,
playing. We've got a significant amount of games that we're playing, so we're in a position where we have to make sure that we can't drop off, and that's exactly what we've done. Last time it was sort of we lost to Liverpool, we had a few draws. This time we're losing games, and that's even more of a concern, is because you don't want to be going into a cup final having lost games because momentum,
key.
mentality, confidence, all those things are going to start dropping off, and you know we're seeing that to a certain extent. It's certainly in the league. Obviously, the cup's been slightly different. It's probably been a welcome distraction. The cups have the FA
Mm,
Cup, Birmingham, obviously the Arsenal second leg, but we cannot afford to take our eyes off the ball. And I've called it out. I've spoken about it. It's about mentality. The
mm,
mentality of the players going into this game. It's all right saying, "Oh yeah, we want to hold ourselves. We want to save ourselves for the final. We want to make sure that we're playing." That's okay. And footballers are like that sometimes. Sometimes they're selfish, but actually, you've got to think about the team. You've got to give 100%. We're fighting on all fronts here. FA Cup, Carabao Cup final, Premier League. We want to be where we want to be, where we're considered a bigger team because we're fighting on all these fronts. But we need to show a mentality that reflects that, and at the moment we're not. Um, and to be fair to him, Eddie Howe has addressed it because the journalists addressed it, particularly after the game on Saturday. They
mm,
said, "Come on, is this? This seems like a couple of years ago where we're dropping off." And he was like, "Well, if that's the case, then we're going to be in a real difficult position. We're going to effectively throw it away," is what he said. And that this is why on Sunday I expect a reaction from the boys. I
mm,
expect it because I don't believe Eddie Howe is going to accept that he's got people outside of the club thinking that his players have just dropped mentality. And I think some of the players are not going to think that, are not going to want to have that thought associated with their name as well. So, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered on Sunday for Newcastle United, and we're anticipating a big performance.
Who do you think the pressure's more on Sunday? Is it Forest or Newcastle? Like who needs the 3 points in your opinion on this?
Us, us,
Mm,
the pressure's on us, and you'll probably be happy with that. The fact that the pressure
mm,
is on us because, look, as you've said, Wolfie, we're 6 points behind you.
mm.
You're still sitting in the top four, pretty comfortable. And on
I
top of
won't go
that,
that far, mate, but yeah, I hear you.
you are because of the things that you said. The
Yeah.
fact that Chelsea are falling, the fact that we're not consistent, the fact that Man City are in and out, although they're looking like they're pushing up now, but that will still keep you in the top four. You
Mm,
got to worry maybe about Bournemouth's form at the moment in their results, but because it's still all over the place, it still falls in your favour, and you've still got a nice enough gap there to work with. But we have to win. We
mm,
cannot afford for you, in my opinion, to go 9 points clear of us after Sunday's game, because I think with the amount of games that we've got left, that's too much of a gap to bring back
mm,
and then overturn before the end of the season. That's my personal opinion. So I
yeah.
think with the fact that we're at St James's Park at home, the fact that we're playing you and we've got a chance to chop that down to 3 points, I think the pressure is on us. And you know what? I think this is a real good benchmark for Newcastle United because, in my opinion, I think we have to be in a position where we're handling pressure. If we can't handle the pressure of coming up against you guys on Sunday at home, then how are we going to deal with a cup final playing against Liverpool at Wembley with a trophy as a potential to win? Like I see it all as a bit of a test for me, and I
Yeah.
hope the players are feeling like that too.
How's the squad looking at the moment, mate? Because I know Botman wasn't in, Joe Linton didn't play in your last game, and I think that Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno combo has been sensational. I've said it plenty of times. I think it's the best midfield 3 pairing in the league. Can you like please tell me there's some injuries from like, please?
Well, you may already be aware that Joe Linton's been out. Was it? I think it was the Fulham game.
Mm,
He took a knock and he missed. In fact, it was. Yeah, he had a knee brace on against when he came off against Fulham. There was talk that he could make the Arsenal game, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, he's out for a few weeks. But Eddie Howe said weeks, not months. So he's kind of like, we're not sure what's happening. Like, I'll be honest, I'm hoping for a bit of a surprise. I'm hoping for Joe Linton to be fitting in the squad, but there's been no confirmation on that. And I'm sure Eddie Howe will be asked the question in his presser before the game. However, what he did say last week is that Sven Botman should be fit and available for the game on Sunday, which I know that you're not going to be happy about.
I'm
For
not.
me,
Who's he going to replace? Do you think it'll be Burn?
well,
Sure.
this is where it could potentially get interesting because if he comes in and it's a flat 2, I think he replaces Shaw because Shaw hasn't played well this last 3 or 4 weeks. He really hasn't played well at all. However, if we're going to change tactic and we're going to play a similar formation than what we played against Arsenal, then I think Botman will go in as a 3. And I think Botman will go dead centre, Burn left, Shaw right. And that's how it will go. And we'll play wing backs and we'll play probably a midfield pivot of Tonali and Bruno. So it all depends on what style of approach that Eddie Howe's going to play. But for me, if Sven Botman's fit, he comes straight in because he is that good. And he's our best centre back. We miss him massively.
Yeah.
But equally, we massively miss Joe Linton. You talked about the midfield 3. And midfield 3,
he was your best player for me when you played us at the City Ground. He was unplayable that day.
He effectively won us the game. He was like I said, he was unplayable on that right hand side, and that's not even his best position. But this midfield 3 functions only when those 3 players are playing together, and so because they complement each other, they have so much difference in their game. So Bruno, they've all got work rate first and foremost. They all can get up and down, but Bruno's got that elegance at the top end of the pitch to find that ball in and behind. Sandro Tonali is very much the guy that sits in and he's the recovery guy. He makes the tackles and the interceptions deep when teams are on the counter attack. And then you've got Joe Linton that basically breaks everything up in between. He'll protect Lewis Hall on the left-hand side. He'll go and fight fires further up the pitch and try and regain the ball high up the pitch. And he'll be the one that'll be overlapping Gordon at times on that left-hand side. He does it all. And he is a massive miss. When he's not in there, Joe Willock cannot do the same. Joe Willock's good in some areas, but he lacks in a lot of others as well. And so the quicker that midfield 3 is restored, the more comfortable I will feel about Newcastle United being able to properly attack games.
Yeah, I do like that midfield 3. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I hope Joe Linton's out because I had nightmares for him after that game. I mean, it was like, I was like, what's he doing? I've always rated him since he's made that move into that position, but he was just on something that night, man. He like turned the whole game around. I was like, for God's sake, man, typical Forest. So let's talk about your boy Isak, man. Dried up a little, yeah. Moving to Arsenal, as the Arsenal fans keep telling you. But you know, he's still red hot, isn't he? He's still pretty tasty.
Yeah, he's top class. He's a top class, arguably one of the best in Europe, if not the best in some arguments in terms
Oh,
of.
don't you do this thing, Pete, man. You lot are always saying he's the best, and now it's arguably the best. Yeah.
For me, I'll put it out there. I would not trade Alexander Isak for anybody. That's how highly I rate him. And you know, he's scored 17 goals this season, which is a great turnaround already.
One less than Chris Wood, though.
True. But for me, it's not just about that. It's his overall game and what he gives to the team. He's so crucial to the team and what he gives on the ball, off the ball, how he links the play. He just makes everything work for this formation to be as formidable as what it has been this season. And Yeah, he's in red hot form. He didn't get the service against Man City.
Mm,
Whether that was down to him or the others, I'd probably say the other players really didn't perform to give him what he needed. Um, Everybody knows a striker needs to be fed. Chris Wood is a perfect example of that. You got Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi and many others, Gibbs White and
mm,
various other players that will feed Wood, so he will know where to be and where to move and where to anticipate the ball because he'll get that service. He's exactly the same. It might not be in exactly the same way as Wood, but he'll know he'll have to move in certain positions and be able to know where he needs to be, providing on who's got the ball and where. And it's as simple as that. And he didn't get that on Saturday. But for me, he is a top player, and you give him an inch and he'll put the ball in the net. Like, he's
no
a
signs of an
formidable.
injury or anything?
No, 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 no. Don't get your hopes up on
Not
Evans,
that I
Anthony.
wish ill on anyone, but you know, if he's going to catch a cold, it'd be a nice weekend to catch it. But
But to answer the question about look, his move, it's been speculated about Arsenal for about a year
Mm,
now. There's never been one bid come in. It's all noise in the media, mostly coming from Arsenal or Arsenal ex-players or Arsenal representatives of some form, and they're trying to push the narrative because they're desperate for it.
mm,
The reality is that Arsenal can't afford Alexander Isak. They just can't. To put that level of money down, they're spending pretty much their summer budget on him,
yeah,
and they ain't doing it. They ain't doing it. It's as simple as that. He's got 3 years left on his contract in the summer. Um, if he goes, he's going to go for a humongous fee. And for me, he goes to a team. And correct me if you disagree with this. For me, if Alexander Isak leaves, he's going to go to a team that are winners. He's going to
yeah,
go to a team that regularly win trophies, that
yeah,
are at the top end of football. And I don't think Newcastle United fans we'd do it through gritted teeth and would be absolutely distraught to lose him. But if he went to a Real Madrid or he went
mm.
to a
Barca, yeah,
a Barca, I mean, they don't win as many trophies now, but they would win more
yeah,
trophies than
with him.
Arsenal. Let's be
Mm,
honest. If he went to a team that would regularly win trophies at the top end of football, then I don't think many Newcastle fans could argue that. But the reality is, there is only a small pool of teams in world football that could afford Alexander Isak,
mm,
and Real Madrid's one of them, and they've got Mbappe, so they don't need him. You look at Man City; they've got Haaland. They don't need him. And then you're looking around and you're kind of scrambling.
yeah. That's
Arsenal
why I
got their
feel. I feel
financial issues.
kind of if it is gonna happen, it would be Barca with Lewandowski, the age he's at, maybe moving on. That would probably be where I can maybe see him fitting. But I agree with you. If I was him, you bet if Newcastle were to get Champions League football, I personally, if I was him, would look at it and think this is a team with a lot of money behind it, a better fan base than Arsenal have got, and a team that will design the team around me, as in Isak, rather
Mm.
than with Arsenal, where it's going to be you got Saka there, you got Wanyeri breaking through, etc. This would be his team, and yeah, I'm not saying it because I've got any beef with Arsenal. I don't. I just think I can see why they want him, but from Isak's perspective, you're right. He would want to go to winners, somewhere where he's going to lift some trophies. So there's
And
no
also,
there's no real incentive. I think you can give him more money if it came to wages and things. You could afford to give him more. I know there's PSR and what have you, but you
don't be
can.
surprised, mate, if that happens in the summer. Don't
Mm,
be surprised if we're lucky enough to get Champions League football. Don't be surprised if we slap down a right. He might be on 150 right now. Right, let's go 250,
mm,
300. You're our main guy. You're
exactly.
one of the best in Europe. You deserve this money. Don't be surprised if Newcastle slap that money down because
Yeah.
we're going to have money to play around with in the summer to be able to sign. And if Newcastle United fans were asked the question, would you rather a signing that could maybe supplement the squad or improve his contract to ensure that he stays long term? I think I know what Newcastle United fans would go for.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Give me a
I don't see
weakness, mate. Give me a weakness. Like I'm looking at the team sheet. Like I'm not confident about Sunday. I was thinking like right wing, but Murphy's been all right. I think he had a bit of a poor game against Man City. Obviously, we were playing at the same time, so I've only seen highlights. But is that where you'd say your current weakness is if Forest were going to exploit it, or maybe this midfield not being that, three amigos. If Willock's in there, because I don't think he had a great game against Man City. I don't think many did, to be honest. But if you had to pick out a weakness right now in the team, where would it be?
Couple of things. I would say, for one, I don't think Joe Willock plays on Sunday.
Okay.
I think they'll change it. I think Louis Miley's probably got more chance of starting.
Okay.
When he came on against Man City, he played well. So I think they might even give him a run out if Joe Linton's not fit. But I think the weakness for me is the mentality. Have we got the right mindset to attack this game? Because I genuinely believe at St James's Park, if our mindset's right, we can go win this game, and we can go win this game well because we've got the quality of player. There's no doubt about it, and that's no disrespect to Forest. You're a top team on top form, but at St James's Park, I would always bet for Newcastle United when we're on it and we're ready. So I think the mentality of the team and the individual players is our major weakness at the moment, and that would be the one thing. In terms of where you guys can get in and affect the game, I would say, pace is one of our frailties, particularly down our fullback sides. So, for example, Lewis Hall, tremendous left back, like really come through, broken through, getting his England recognitions and all the rest of it. But coming up against electric pace, like he did with Savino on Saturday, he does struggle with. So if you've got Elanga or Callum Hudson-Odoi running at him with electric pace, I think that's where he may well struggle, and you can get in on the back of that. Now, thinking back to last season, when you beat us at St James's Park, it was pace down those wide areas that really destroyed
Elanga
us.
had a cracking game that second half,
He was
especially.
brilliant. And he is
Dan
electric.
Burn struggled,
And that's the thing, and I would say that the centre back pairing, no matter who it is, those three centre backs currently, Shaw, Botman, and Byrne, aren't blessed with pace. I think Botman you see less of because his positioning is so good, and he almost makes up for that lack of pace because his positioning is great. But whereas Byrne and Shaw are not the quickest at all. So I think in and around that, so it actually falls into our advantage potentially. If we've got Botman back, for example, and we go Botman Burn, it actually falls into our advantage slightly that they're up against Chris Wood, who's not electrically quick, but he's very much an old school striker that's back to goal, physical in the air, because that's the type of player that they like to play against. Larson against Wolves was an example of that. Jimenez wasn't really in the game because we managed him quite well. Kai Havertz for Arsenal is that type of player where it's just all kind of physical. They like that type of battle. So I think, definitely the backline's pace is the key where you can get some joy.
Who are you worried about from our end, mate? From the Forest team, what worries you? You worried about Elliot Anderson scoring a hat trick back at St James's? Chris Wood a hat trick, all these old boys coming back to haunt.
Mate, honestly, this is an absolute hat tip to your team in your club this season, because there are a lot of players I'm worried about. The obvious one is Chris Wood because of his goal scoring record, 18 goals this season. He's just continued it on from last season. He's in the twilight of his career, and we kind of joke about it. Obviously, he didn't make it at Newcastle, and he's gone to Forest and everything. But Newcastle fans had massive respect for Chris Wood, and he knows that. Like, he went with our blessing, and we gave him a really good send off as a fan base. There's massive respect there. Even I think when he came back last season, he got round of applause and that adulation, quite rightly, because he came to us when he didn't have to, and he helped us stay in the Premier League. That helped us grow, and we'll never forget that. But Chris Wood is on fire. So we're going to have to play very well, like we did at your place, to keep him quiet. Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi, massive threats for pace, as I've talked about before. Morgan Gibbs-White seems to be he's the cog for you, in my opinion, from the games that I've watched play. Sometimes I get from Forest fans that they don't really like him, or they're not really that bothered about him. I'm joking with a few of them, saying, "Oh, we're going to come to get Morgan's goodbye," and they're like, "Yeah, you can have him." And I'm a bit surprised by that, because he seems to be the cog that keeps everything ticking. His work
Yeah.
rate's unmatched. He links the play so well. He's so creative and keeps things ticking. I was watching the Exeter game, and I know it wasn't your greatest performance, and you
Mm.
ended up getting through on penalties, which is, it doesn't really matter as long as you threw you through. But I watched him when I think he came on off the
Yeah.
bench, and he just he just raised the bar of all of your team. He was popping the ball around, trying to make things happen, and he's going to be one we're going to have to stop. I think him and Tonali will have a pretty good battle up
Mm.
against each other on Sunday. Um, and so, yeah, and of course, Elliot Anderson, because he's back at St James's Park. I'm just not sure whether the emotion's going to get the better of him, because it seemed that way. And I think I mentioned it to you after the game we
Yeah.
played at your place. It seemed like the emotion of playing Newcastle got the better of him. He didn't really play very well uh, when he played during that game. And coming back to St James's Park for the first time, is it going to motivate him, or is it going to affect his game because he's
Yeah.
back where he obviously where he started his career? So that'll be an interesting one. But the other players that I've just mentioned, your attacking players, are the ones that I'm worried about, because they're the ones effectively that I think will do the damage. Um, if you are going to get something
Yeah, it's
close.
interesting what you say about Gibbs White, because when you mentioned like the Forest fans spoken to, so I know exactly what they mean. He is our best player, but he can be our most frustrating player. Sometimes it's a bit too Hollywood, because he'll try, like, instead of making the simple pass with the inside of his boot or whatever, he has to go for a Travella pass or a back heel pass, and then it goes out of play. It's those little, and his shooting is woeful. But outside of that, when he's on form, he can become unplayable as well. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes I feel with Morgan, less is more. Just
Yeah,
make the simple pass, ticket along, and I think he'll learn that as he matures. Not everything has to be, a little freaking elastico or a Travella or
yeah,
those things. So when he starts to cut those out again, which he has been doing, to be fair, but every now and again it creeps back in.
yeah.
That's where the frustration builds with some of the Forest fans with him. But I wouldn't sell him. I still think he's top notch. So I get what you're saying, and it's interesting that other people are thinking that as well. But Pete, I'm not feeling in a good place right now. And it's because Forest lost. I'm
Why?
feeling
Tell
crappy
me why. Come on.
because we
Why?
lost, man. It's just the manner
So
that we
did
lost.
we. So did
Yeah,
we.
I know, but it's the manner we lost. There was like it was very lazy. Do you know what I mean? You go 1-0 down, you're expecting a reaction on the pitch. It doesn't happen. We got very lucky to get an equalizer against Fulham. And my issue was that we could all see that the formation was wrong against Newcastle because he just copied and pasted what we did against Brighton.
Yeah.
And we're like, Nuno, make the changes, bro. Make the changes. Go back four. Danilo was having a stinker. Hook him off. Bring on, Callum Hudson-Odoi. And then we concede the goal, and then he does exactly what I was screaming at him to do. And that's the frustration when an idiot like me could see it, and then he talks about that in his interview post-match. You're like, if you've seen it, do it. Don't wait. It was just too lackluster. And it just put me in a downer. But I'm just so reactionary, man. When we win, when we beat Brighton, I was like, yeah, we're back on to win the league. When we lost, it's like, can we even hold on for Europe now? So, but there's not many times where I've been down this season, obviously, because I had a good thing. Every time I felt this low, Forest have gone and pulled me back up with a good result. So that's what I'm holding on to. But yeah, I'm not confident, mate. I mean, how are you seeing this one going on
Um,
Sunday? Both teams need to find their form.
Absolutely, and we're at a point now where, from a Newcastle perspective, like you said, 3 losses in 4, we
Mm,
need a reaction, um, and I fully expect a reaction from Newcastle United being at home, um, getting the atmosphere up. There's already been plans to kind of like try and raise the atmosphere,
yeah,
and get it a bit like it was against Arsenal, because there has been some calls about the atmosphere not being, particularly on a Saturday 3 o'clock, not being as kind of as loud and as effective as it could be. but I think they're going to try and ramp it up for this one on Sunday. And I do think we'll get a reaction from these players. Harvey Barnes coming back in. He's back in the squad. Hopefully, Joe Linton back in. Sven Botman is supposedly back in. Getting those players back will give the team, the fans, a boost. And I think I'm not saying we're going to go out and blitz you. I think it'll be close, but I think it's going to be a Newcastle 2-1 win. That's what I'm going to go for.
You know, for the first time this season, I'm going to predict Forest loss.
Oh, you're doing what Charlie does, man. You're tempering the expectations. So when it happens, or if it happens, you're going to be going, "Oh, I'm surprised by this." But come on, man.
I'm just not there this week with Forest. I'm really not. I'm still pissed off about Fulham. I hate Fulham now. Again, I think we lose. I think it could be more than 2-1. My worry is if Forest do what they did against Fulham and you take the lead, we could collapse. That's my big worry.
Have you changed anything? I know we're doing predictions, but have you changed anything? Formation, players? Has anything changed?
Yeah, he went to this back three. I think I would like to see him go to the back four again. It just felt more balanced because it frees up Elanga and Hudson-Odoi on the wings. Whereas when he went 3-4-3, he was playing Elanga almost like this floating 10 position, which worked really nicely against Brighton. Don't get me wrong, but against Fulham, I didn't know he was playing until he switched to the back four, brought him out wide, and then suddenly he came back alive. So maybe that's given me a little hope, but you lot in the comments, like, are you feeling more confident they are? And they're going to all call me negative, and I can see the comments now, reactionary. I don't care, all right? This is how I feel. I'm just calling it out. And Newcastle are a good team. And you've beaten us twice this season. Well, no, you've beaten us once, and penalties don't count. So, you know what? You wouldn't even be in this final if Taiwo could hit the stadium, let alone the goal, man. And
He's
that
not the only
penalty.
one. Who else?
That was the cup one. That was the Carabao Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah. Who else missed? There was two that missed.
Yeah, Sangare missed as well.
As well.
But we took the lead, man. You missed your first or second penalty. So, oh my God. So Forest should be in the final right now because penalties don't count.
Nah.
They do. Fine margins. As Chris Hughton, we both know him well, would say it. Oh God. Listen, Pete, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. We'll be doing a live 6:30 Thursday night over on Loaded Mag where the three of them are going to bully the hell out of me. I can see it coming now, right? But make sure you go show them some love. The link for their channel is in the title. It's that blue bit. Just go click it. Make sure you're subscribed. Pete, I'll see you Thursday night, buddy. You guys, make sure you've liked and subscribed. Get your score predictions in below. And let's hope I'm wrong. Come on, you Reds.